How is everybody? After talking to a mic tonight, I'm Karyn Mannix. I'm sure most of you know who I am. So I don't really have to introduce myself all that much. I have my guests Dan Welden, Helen Harrison, Dan, Helen, Doug, Kerry. Kerry, you're the fourth seat. Doug, you're sitting in the middle. The microphones are going to be working from the back, and Josh Gladstone. Oh, look at that. Josh is back. Tonight's panel is about Printaganza. I just want to let everyone know in 2 weeks from now, August 1st, we do have the Gorilla Girls here, two ex-former Gorilla Girls, Alice Neal and Romaine Brooks. The day before that, on July 31st, we are doing an activism workshop with the Gorilla Girls. If anyone wants to sign up for that, I can get you all the information at the end of the show, and it is in the art affiche that is out on the table. So with that all being said, let's begin the show. Everyone has water. So I'm going to start, before we get into Printaganza, which Josh knows much about, and Dan Welden is the leader on that. I just want to go over a few things for you to get to know the panelists a little bit better. I'm sure most of you know them, but we're going to start with Dan Welden. Does everyone know Dan? All right. So Dan, I'm going to start with a few questions. It's just to have the audience getting to know you. All right? So this is going to be a little speed. Uh-oh. Are you ready? Sure. Okay. These are easy questions, Dan. There's a test at the end, so don't worry. Wait. Okay. The artist that influenced you the most?
His name was Kurt Lowasser.
Okay. And your favorite color? I like knowing people's favorite colors.
Brown.
Brown. Interesting. Helen, most influential artist?
My husband, Roy Nicholson.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Doug, same question. Most influential artist?
Hopper.
Okay. Favorite color?
Blue.
Okay. Kerry.
That's a tough one, but Nick Brandt is one of my favorite.
Okay. And what's your favorite color?
That's another tough one. I'd have to say blue.
Okay. It's interesting. Last panel, too, mostly people like blue as their favorite color. Go ahead, Josh. Who's the artist you're most influenced by?
I like the theater director, Peter Brook.
Okay, fair enough. And your favorite color?
Red.
Red. Okay. My big influence is Barbara Kruger, and my favorite color is orange. Okay. Here we go. Dan, if you had a parrot, what would it say?
Oh, gee. That's a good one. Can you hear me? Good.
They can hear.
Hollywood a cracker?
That's all it's going to say.
Well,
I thought it was going to say, "Can you hear me?" That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Helen, is a hamburger a sandwich?
In my book, it is.
Okay, fair enough. Doug, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Really? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Kerry, what would you rather be, 10 inches tall or 10 feet tall?
10 inches or 10
Or 10 feet.
10 inches.
Okay.
Yep.
And Josh, texting or talking?
Talking.
Talking more than texting. Okay, that's interesting.
If he
All
had
right.
said texting, I would have said he was lying.
So we're going to start let's talk a little bit about Printaganza. Printaganza, how many people were together in the show, Dan, that you had printing?
I think we had 85 artists and 15 assistants, something like that.
All right,
Give or take.
Yeah, I took the print and I almost cried at it because I was very upset because I don't know how to print make, and I found it very frustrating. You remember? Yeah, I was having I was very upset. I was. I just really didn't have a good time doing it. Not that I didn't have a good time. I found it very difficult to do printmaking because you did figurative work more. I was trying to do an abstract, which I am not very good at. So tell us a little bit about Printaganza, and then we're going to move through. These are all, three of them are the artists on the panel, and Josh is behind the scenes at LTV. So tell us, Dan.
Well, the idea actually started many years ago. Actually, Helen was there along with her husband, Roy, and Connie Fox, and Bill King, and Lorna Logan. We were in an old studio barn, a garage kind of thing, and we all got together and made prints, and that was back in, what, 1980 or so?
Yeah, the early 80s,
Yeah.
I guess. Well,
So-
when you were doing the hospital portfolio, that was 80, 81. So it would be around that same time.
Yeah, so we just basically got together and had a print party, and then little by little it evolved into other things, and between the New York State art teachers and then other places here and there, including the church, and finally ending up here, it became a huge success.
And you moved in, what, 3 presses were here, right?
We had 3 or 4 presses, yeah. I forgot. They were heavy.
Yes, I know. I don't know how you moved them in here. It looked like you needed a crane to move them in. So Dan, as most of you probably know, is solar plate etching is his baby. So tell us a little about that, what that exactly is.
Well, solar plate is a non-toxic, if you want to call it, something that doesn't use any acids, solvents, or grounds, and it's revolutionary in the sense it's fast and spontaneous. And it's basically doing something that doesn't require a lot of high tech and certainly much safer. You draw on the material, put it in the sun, expose it, wash it with water, and you're basically using sunlight and water to do the whole process.
So you're not using all the chemicals,
None, hardly.
no acids or anything?
None,
That's excellent. So it's environmentally friendly.
very.
What happens if it's not sunny out?
Oh, I have a portable sun.
Oh, you do?
I bring it along with me in a little box.
Do you let it out and
Oh,
it just
yeah,
glows?
yeah, and then I open it up and say, hello, son, you know.
I don't know how to reply to that. I don't know. So Helen, what day did you came in for the printing?
I think I was here on day 2. It was a 3-day event, right? It was 3 days?
I
Or was
can't,
It was, well, because it just all ran together for you. But yeah, I had not done, these were monotypes, so we didn't actually have any sun. It was done on a glass or a plastic film surface, and then printed as a monotype, although you could definitely do it twice and maybe manipulate it. So there was possibility of getting a couple of images out of one plate.
Can we see Helen's print? They'll pop up
oh,
there.
boy, that's nice.
Yeah, there we go. So when I did my art training and when I was a practicing artist, my work was figurative. And then I hadn't practiced for many years, and I guess maybe hanging around the Pollock Krasner house all these decades kind of got me thinking more abstractly. But I had made a few collages, and I decided to use one of those as the basis, because with the plexiglass, or what was it? Was it plexi or film? It was plexi, yeah.
Plexi.
With that, it's transparent. So I put the collage down on the underneath the plexi, and then I used that as a kind of template to give me a design. And of course, it came out completely different. That was the interesting thing, is as you run it through the press, you're not really sure what's going to come out. So then I manipulated it with the second color. The first color is Madder Lake. That's why it's not a picture of a lake. It's not water. It's the color is Madder Lake. But I thought that made a kind of nice ambiguous feeling about it, because it could be watery. You know, it has a little watery feeling to it. So it's only 2 colors. And I wanted silver, but Dan said, no silver, because it doesn't come out well. So I wound up with the gray.
Yeah, it doesn't transfer.
No, it doesn't transfer.
So this has a lot of movement in it. Are you influenced by anyone by doing this?
Well,
After
it
all
has
those
a life
years
of
at
its own.
After many years at the Jackson Pollock House.
Well,
Lee
when
Krasner.
I actually applied the material, it wasn't that shape. The shape of the marks changed with the pressure of the
With the
press.
pressure of the
You've noticed
plexi.
that too, yeah. So it's not like an etching where you actually have a design that you can see, and it's an intaglio, so you put the ink on it, you wipe it off, and there you see the design. With this, it's a little bit more free form, and I like that. I found that interesting. I mean, if I hadn't liked it, I would have thrown it away, but this one I thought came out quite well.
Oh, it is a beauty. And it will be
you.
up for auction as well on August 4th. And you can pre-bid on things online. I'll give you all the information at the end on how you can start your bidding on these pieces. Doug,
Yes.
can we see Doug's print, please? So, right, this is what I was up against at the printing workshop.
That's sweet.
So Doug, tell us,
Yes.
how did this come about in this format of printing? Was it one plate or was it several plates?
This one here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just one plate.
It was one plate,
And
okay.
in fact, as I remember that day, I managed to get this one done, and then I thought I had time to get another one done. And of course, you hear everyone saying, we're going to stop in 15 minutes, and so now you're really going fast. But so this one came out, and I had been doing a lot of big paintings of cottages and things like that. And so it was in my mind, and it was something that what I didn't expect was how it would be reversed, of course, because it's printing, and I completely forgot about that. That's what I like about the printing, that I've done some printing with you in the past, Dan. We've done a Printaganza at the church, and then this one. And it always surprises me how it happens, because you think it's going to come out, and as you say, when it comes out of the press, it's been squeezed a little hard here and there, and so it's sort of a pleasant surprise when you peel that paper back and you see something that you didn't expect. I love allowing chaos to get in there a little bit.
It doesn't look like any chaos got in there.
No,
though.
no.
Yeah, so the printing, when you take the plate and put it upside down, it becomes as a mirror image,
Yep.
pretty much.
Yeah,
It's an interesting process.
Yeah.
It really is.
yeah, it's fun.
Kerry, next, let's talk a little bit about your
Okay.
piece.
Oh.
So you worked on it after? it looks
I
like.
did work on it afterwards.
Okay, so did I do with mine too.
Yeah, I brought in my own plates to work on, and they're.
Put the mic up to your,
Oh, sorry.
it's the banana.
The plates that I brought in were my own, and I use them for my photography work. I oxidize aluminum plates and then do image transfers onto them. So I decided to bring them in. I have a lot of circles in my work for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to circles. So I figured I'd bring those in and see if, what I could do with those. So I just did some, different ink patterns on the round plates, and then ran the round plates through the printer. And my intention was to work on them afterwards as well. So what I ended up doing was puncturing.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the perforations. That was
Yeah.
not from it's going through the press.
No, that was done afterwards.
You came behind? paper?
So what I did was I worked on the image on a piece of ethafoam, and then just used an awl on both sides of the paper, actually. So the punctures go, they're both raised and concave on the pieces. So
That was one of the most unique approaches of anyone.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I don't draw much. Most of my work is photography based. Drawing and playing around with that. But I love the printing because it's so out of the ordinary of what I work with, and it's kind of freeing to just play and see what happens.
It's very interesting because I do like the perforated holes in there. I really, really do. Can you bring up mine? I'm sort of embarrassed to even show mine, but. So when I first did this print, it looked like flowers, and if anyone knows me, I would never do flowers. So I went home, I took a brayer with pink and went over it with pink, and then added my little comments that I always do, hence why Barbara Kruger is my influence.
So you had to
And-
write backwards.
Well, no, I did this forward.
that was after the
That's done
fact.
with grease pencil. The
You
writing is grease
cheated.
pencil, and the rest is ink.
Mhm. Good, smart.
So can you bring up the John Alexander? So if anyone knows who John Alexander is, this print will be going up. You could buy raffle tickets for this print, and Josh will tell us about this in a second. You could explain this much more. The print is, I have written down, what's the value of this, 3,500?
33 or 3250, something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
The value. And you could buy raffle tickets at $25 each or 5 for $100 and win the raffle on this at the Printaganza. You're going to be drawing the raffle that night at the event, which is August 4th?
Yes,
Yes, we are.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Printaganza, your version from the LTV side.
Sure. Well, as I said in the intro, this is LTV's first benefit event. So we are getting in the game. It's 40 years since Fraser founded LTV as a service to the community for free speech. And in all those years, I think there have certainly been generous donations that have helped to keep the place going. But right now we're looking at an aging infrastructure, and we're desperately in need of a new roof here above our heads. So this idea sort of emerged out of the work that Dan had been doing prior to my arrival at LTV. I got here in January, but Dan had been working closely with Michael Clark, the executive director. They did some projects. I think, did you do a Printaganza last year too? No, not in this site.
No, not here.
Not here, right. But then you brought the idea to Michael, I think.
Well, Michael approached and said, let's talk about it. And we all got together and we said, that's a great idea, let's do it.
And it wasn't originally conceived as a benefit, but it was a big project. It was exciting. And the idea of having fine artists like yourselves working here, and what a flexible space this room is with its concrete floor. We can do dance and rock and roll, and we can do printing. It's kind of amazing what a resource
And
this
talk
is.
shows.
And the Mannix Show. So the idea that all of these artists from the community would take part in this event, and the idea that Dan would make his guidance available to these artists and the presses themselves, and the paper and the inks. I mean, there's a lot involved behind the scenes, and I don't think you charged anyone anything.
It was a free event for the artists.
A free event for the artists.
Yeah, and then you just had to give a print
There was a
to
catch.
auction off. That was
Right, the catch was I chose the best one for auction purposes.
Oh, yeah, that's another point, is that we didn't have to make just one. You could make a ghost image and work on that, or you could make another plate. And so anybody who was like really quick on the draw could make 4 or 5.
I made
and
3.
then Dan would just pick the one that he wanted for the auction.
The real important thing is when people came in, many of them didn't know what they were going to do. There was this big piece of plastic in front of them, and they said, okay, what am I going to put on it?
Well,
See,
you
this
gave a
is-
demo. You showed how to use the materials.
True.
But as far as imagery went, it's got to come from somewhere else.
That came from someone else, yeah. And the idea is that this was very simple in the sense it's a squashed painting. Did a painting on a clean surface, put a piece of paper on top of it, crank it through the press, and voila.
Voila. So how many pieces are total, and when will they be on display they're already online, but when will they be
I think
put
we
on?
had about 80 artists participating.
Okay.
Give or take.
Yeah, and all of them made, but all those prints are here. You
Yeah.
actually got one from everyone.
Amazingly, the
Okay,
folks,
that's what I
thank
want.
you.
Yeah.
You brought them here to us, and Antoinette Lanzas, we met through Dan, and is now a producer here at LTV, and is producing the Printaganza event for us. And it's sort of through meetings and discussions, we all were brainstorming, and Dan has his own foundation, nonprofit, called Inspiration Plus, which is doing good work in the community with science and art and culture and education. So we said, how about if we team up and do this benefit event to support both of these organizations? And now we have all of these prints made at Printaganza in March. Now let's put them online, which they are, and you can bid on them in a silent auction, which will conclude on August 4th at the Printaganza event. And a select few items will also be live auctioned. And that's kind of, these are work, and there's also even a mystery work, right, by an artist that has not been announced, who has work in the Guggenheim, I think, and the Met. Am I all right? You found somebody.
The Met and the MoMA,
In the MoMA.
and many others.
And many others.
And many others.
So Bill McCuddy, this is why Printaganza is kind of exciting, and it's a novel idea for a benefit, I think, because it incorporates so many facets of what we can and do here at LTV. So you've got Bill McCuddy, who's an on-air host of one of the many programs we show on Channel 20, and he's a comedian. He used to write for Saturday Night Live. He's been on Fox in the morning, and he's been on a lot of television. And now he and Bridget Leroy have a weekend show.
Yes, he's really knows a lot of people. I was on their show.
You did the.
Yeah, I've done that show.
He's been around, and he's done a lot of auctions. We sort of said, who should we get as our auctioneer? And then somebody said, why don't you ask Bill McCuddy? He does this all the time for major auction events in Connecticut and all around the New York area. So here, right in-house, we have this great talent, and he gamely agreed to have this auction of 10 items, which will be the centerpiece of this afternoon at LTV. So you can bid online. You can see the works here. You can bid online, silent auction. You can bid paddle auction for 10 pieces that Bill will be live auctioning. And you can dance. The Hoodoo Loungers, which is one of the great East End bands
I'll be there. Yeah.
Helen will be dancing. She's cutting
they're
the
going to
rug.
be playing, and you know, again, Michael has been doing the East End Underground, which is an opportunity for local musicians to come here, use the resources, get a music video, get it broadcast on the channel, use it for their own promotional purposes. So Hoodoo Loungers is one of the bands, Joe Loro, that we work with frequently, and he agreed very reasonably to come and play for the benefit. So there's the live music aspect. We also have a classical cellist named Laurie Owens, who's going to be playing in the hallway as people are very civilized browsing the art. And we'll have catering, and we have beer and wine sponsors that Antoinette was able to get. And forgive me, because I don't have them off the top of my head. I should know them. You know
Bottle
them?
Hampton,
Bottle Hampton.
who sponsors our wine tonight as well.
Kid Squid and Channing
Oh, it's not
Daughters.
Bottle Hampton for this one? Oh, sorry. Gave them a
Bottle
promotion
Hampton has
anyway.
got the Mannix show.
They got the Mannix show.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's August 4th
Yes.
from 4:30.
It'll probably go for about 2 hours.
Okay.
And tickets, you can buy a ticket and just come and listen to the music and have some catering and a drink and enjoy it. Or you can, you know, get involved, and you could bid $25 and walk out with a John Alexander print valued at $3,000 and put this gorgeous monkey in your home.
Gorgeous monkey.
I've already got my tickets.
I already have a John Alexander, so I'm good to go. Just for everyone in the audience, you could get 25% off your ticket for Printaganza from being in the audience tonight. And when you buy your ticket online, you just put Mannix with a capital M. That's how you spell it. Mannix 2525, Mannix 25 off, and that will give you your discount for the tickets for Printaganza. So what else should we know? So do,
Well,
wait a minute, do we
there's
know the live
also-
auction people, or no?
What's that?
Do we know the live auction pieces, or is that a surprise?
There are, I think, at least nine artists who have been announced as the live auction artists. And again, forgive me because I don't have them memorized.
It's online, though,
It is
right?
on the website,
Yeah.
ltveh.org. In addition to the music and the food and the dancing and the bidding, there's also film component to this, which is so much a part of what
Yep.
we do at LTV.
Lasting impressions?
Lasting Impressions, which is a documentary film about Dan, and maybe you want to speak a little bit about that, but we're going to be having a kind of private, not a big public premiere of the film, because we're saving that for a big film festival somewhere in the country. But we'll have a sneak peek at this film. If you want to talk a little bit about it, we're going to screen it right here.
And you screen them before you talk. It gets screened at 2:30 on August 4th. All right, and we're having some tickets given away for that film as well. And if you come to see the film, you get into Printaganza, Antoinette, right? The reverse, sorry. If you come to Printaganza, you get into the film. Okay, so Dan, tell us about the film Lasting Impressions.
That was actually conceived by someone who was working with me for over a few years. Her name is Catherine Freudenberg-Tchaikovsky. And she said one day, you need a film about yourself. And I said, well, I really can't do that. But in any case, she said, well, I'm going to give you some seed money, and that's what started it off. So I spoke to my son, Carl, who is a sound engineer, and I said, Carl, who do you know that's a filmmaker? And he said, oh, my friend Lars. So it was born by his collaboration with Lars. Lars and Carl put this thing together, and it took 2 years. And in it, we've got some major heavy hitters like Helen Harrison is in it. And Helen is one of my oldest, dearest
They
friends.
go back, I know stories, they go back
No,
way.
we're not going to talk about that one. But there's also Kiki Smith is in it, and Eric Fischel, Alice Aycock, and a host of others. And I really can't comment too much about it. It's a little bit difficult.
Because it's about yourself.
It's a lot of, yeah, but it's also, it has some very beautiful statements in it from different people. Artists' opinions, philosophies, and just the way that artists do and think. And it's really kind of educational, too. That I think I've been told it's very well done.
Okay, how long is the film?
58 minutes and 2 seconds.
Approximately.
But I can't talk about it.
It's a wild guess. So, so that film is going to be on August 4th at 2:30, followed by Printaganza at
Yes,
4:30.
and part of the filmmaking also that we're putting on exhibition here is by our own lead broadcast engineer, Jason Nauer.
Yes.
Who's a very talented guy and is really single-handedly responsible in many ways for bringing LTV into the 21st century. When the pandemic hit and Michael had just started, it was Jason who managed to work with the town to get every meeting on Zoom and live streaming, and really brought the facility up to the state-of-the-art standards. And
And Jason is also very comfortable to work with. I mean, you don't feel like you're in front of a camera when you're with him. He's so natural.
he's a brilliant and lovely guy, and he made a documentary film, a short piece, about you and John Alexander collaborating, I think, right?
I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been shown. We were going to maybe show a little bit of it tonight, but Jason is
Yeah,
very
we didn't get it
particular,
together in time.
and he wants to only premiere this at Printaganza. So
Okay, so when is that going to be shown at Printaganza? Like during the event at 4:30?
it will be in the midst of, it will be before the big live auction, a little bit before, but probably after the music. So there'll be music and partying and bidding online, and then there'll be this film that we'll see, and we'll get an idea of what John and Dan cooked up with their
Did you
aspect.
see it? Did you see it?
I haven't, no, he hasn't shown me either. He's been very guarded about it. He's very particular. He's just also finished a documentary working with the actor Chaz Palminteri, A Bronx Tale, who had a piece done with that De Niro financed, and Jason was involved with that, and it had a premiere at Tribeca. So he's been busy now, but he says he's got this, and he's excited to debut it at Printaganza, and he's such a part of the fabric of LTV that we're excited to see what he's come up with. He's quite good. So there's so many different aspects: performance, dance, music, art, and it's all happening at this
And the
event.
great part, it's over at 6:30, so it's not one of these late time things, so you can go and do a second thing that night for all the partiers out there that like to keep on going all night long. That's definitely not me. So from the artists, the three artists here, your experience in general doing this?
It was an honor to be here, to do it here and do it at the church, and just an honor to be among other artists.
Artists should collaborate.
It's very rare, because being an artist is kind of a lonely sort of a thing. You're always cooped up in your own studio, but to be among people that understand, paint and color and creativity, it's a treat, So
Well, also, a lot of stealing going on. We're looking over each other's shoulder. Oh, what's he doing over there? Oh, I like that color. Maybe I'll use that one. Oh, I like that shape. Maybe I'll use that one. No, it kind of took me back to art school, where you're kind of in it together. Because as you say, in your studio, all by yourself, you can drive yourself crazy. You're all there alone with nothing but your imagination. And to see how others are doing it, and to just be able to have a little give and take, little conversation, like, this isn't working, what do you think I should do? You could get some feedback from other people. And then you were saying, don't talk to each other. Don't interrupt each other. But we were all doing it. We were very naughty.
I had, as I said, 15 or 20 minutes to do one more print. And it came out very faint, and it had good bones, though. So I took that home and I just hit it with my oil paints, and it worked up into a lovely surprise. So I was really, I had so much
That's
fun.
really the idea, and that's where you made the most of it.
Yeah, yeah.
How many prints did you make, Kerry?
I think I made about 8. Dan actually kind of let me use the one little printer over on the side here because I had these little round plates that I was working with. So I did get to kind of pump out quite a few. But it's such a great experience to work, with other artists in a room, like you were saying. Generally we're working by ourselves, and it's so nice to be out and share ideas and everything. It's a fourth Print-A-Ganza I've done with Dan. And every time it's been different, and every time it's been really wonderful experience. I've done 2 with the solar plates, and then 2 that were monoprints, the one at the church and the one here. So, it's, it takes you out of, for me, it takes me out of my normal working elements, and, it's a chance to play and experiment. So.
And Helen's also a writer. Many of you probably know, and she's having her 5th book of the Corpse series. I wrote it down, but I don't have my glasses on. What's the name of the book again?
It's called A Willful Corpse.
All right, so that's a very lonely thing, too, to be a writer.
Yeah.
You're always by yourself, and you're not really an artist per se. You're an
Well,
art
I haven't
historian.
practiced in a long time, although I did get the equivalent of an MFA. But one of the reasons I got out of it was that isolation, that it was so difficult to get validated, and I really felt that I was too gregarious for that kind of life. So I wound up going in another direction. But I'm very, very glad that I had that practical training.
Well, that helps with just being at Pollux for a long time. It just helps with art history as well, to have that knowledge of the craft.
Well, when I went to graduate school, they called it the history of slides. I mean, you did not deal with real art. And I felt that, the real art is what it's about. It's not about just learning to look at things. It's about learning how things are created.
It's very important. When I went to school, we had the history of art by Jansen, and there was no females in the book, not even Frida Kahlo or anybody. George O'Keeffe, they weren't even in the book as then. That has changed. We'll find that out from the Guerrilla Girls in 2 weeks. Right? So who else can add to the conversation about Print-A-Ganza and the process? I know Dan.
Well, I'd like to just comment about how I saw tremendous feelings come out of the artists. I mean, the feelings of joy, the feelings of surprise, those elements that came into each person. And when they came out with their works, I mean, there's nobody that looked like anybody else's. They all had their very individual styles and tastes. So that was really a big plus. Nobody really saw somebody as, I want to do that. They did their own things, and it was a very, very lively event. Not everybody's worked well, but that's one of the things that doesn't happen all the time.
I
That's
did,
the
like I
fun
said,
of it.
I think 3, maybe 4 prints, and they were just, I just don't have the eye for abstracts. I got very,
Would you
very,
do
because
it
I
ag-
use
would
text
you,
all
would
the
you
time.
try it again?
Well, that's why I added text to mine, because I felt more at home when I add what I'm thinking to it.
Do you think
obviously-
you could have added the text first and printed on top? Would you like to have tried
I
that?
know you have to reverse it, and I tried to paint with the ink on the plate for a little bit to try to do it, and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working.
You'll
smooth
have to come to my office after hours.
enough. Yeah, yeah, right.
Come see my etchings.
Yeah, I went to art school, don't forget. So I think this is very exciting about Print-A-Ganza, and I'm actually looking forward to the event. What else can we talk about that before we get into a few more little questions that are a little bit off that subject?
I have
Let's
a question.
go ahead.
Dan, why the rhinoceros? It's probably an ancient.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's an
a
interesting
very good question, because it started out, well, Albrecht Dürer is pretty much the father of printmaking. And he was very inspirational in terms of what he did. Most people don't know a lot about Dürer because, I mean, most people don't know that he's really credited with developing watercolor more than any other artist. When he did his turf and his plein air work, no one was really doing that. No one was using watercolor before that, except for monks that were, doing their lettering. And then, but what I admired about him was he did a drawing from a description, and then he took the drawing and he made a woodcut of it. And this woodcut was the best example of a rhinoceros until the 18th century. And it was just an amazing thing. And because the print whole thing was so gargantuous that we decided to call it Printaganza. And the logo of the rhinoceros, just a beautiful image. I think the Boston Museum School has that in front of their school too. You have that there.
That's from a woodcut?
That's a woodcut. Dura did woodcuts that were 11 feet tall. 11 feet tall in the British Museum. You know,
Not this one, by another one.
No, this is a small one.
Yeah.
That was. I went to his birthday party, Dura's birthday party in 1971. He was 500 years old. So, and they had his woodcuts blown up 5 feet. It was really beautiful to see that.
Nice. Anything else to add, Josh, to the Printaganza?
Well, I guess I know Printaganza is something that you've done at other venues. And I don't know much about those. Can you speak a little bit about what else you've done with this and maybe what's different in this version?
Well, in this particular version, we are going to have that benefit, raising money. Although we did something similar at the church. The first one was done, and they had an auction there, and that I think raised about $38,000, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. And that was because there were a couple of heavy hitters in there, like Eric and April. They brought in the big bucks. And that was a beautiful event. The second time it was done at the church was done a little differently. It was not done for they charged artists. So this one was a free event, so that made its own mark. And I think that is a nice way to work with people who have never done it before, because who wants to pay to make art? You know, so that was, I mean, it's necessary, I mean, in terms of costs and expenses and everything like that. And hopefully we'll get something out of it with the fundraiser.
Well, that's the point, I guess, when you're making, well, I only made one, but other people might make multiple prints. They donate one, and then they get to keep whatever else they've done. So they get the benefit of however many works they get to keep, and you get the benefit of the piece that's the fundraiser.
And not only that, but some artists liked their own work and didn't like giving it up, so they have the option of buying it back. So.
And I think the free, that is very much in alignment with the ethos of LTV, where we want to be free speech and free for the community, and our events are not at the ticket price level of other events out here.
Yeah, Hampton prices.
It's not quite Hampton's prices, and I think you can get these prints. The bids start at $50, I think, which is, I think, even far less expensive than Guildhall's clothesline art sale. Like $50 is, you can walk out with an original piece of art that's worthy for your home, and that's a great deal.
Thank you for saying the word original, because that is very true. There is not another one like it. It's the only one.
That's why it's called a monotype, because it's mono is just one.
Exactly.
And these are works by legitimate artists like yourselves from the community who have been practicing for years. So it's not like, some kid stuff. This is good, amazingly good. I mean, I'm kind of stunned that people just did this in a few hours, frankly.
There is one impression that was done by an artist by the name of Nick Frezzalone, who teaches art at Patchogue Medford schools. And one day I said to him, Nick, have you done any woodcuts? And he said, no, I never did that before. I said, well, you're going to do one now. So I basically set him up with this thing, and I said, he can really draw. He draws beautifully. I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do Dura's rhinoceros, but you're not going to copy it. You're going to do your own version from the front. So he interpreted Duras rhinoceros, did a woodcut of this, and that will be in, and I think it's already being bidded on.
Yeah, I bid on that.
Did you really? Oh,
Josh, don't outbid people, let's go.
do you know
We all
how
have to
big, do
take
you
a
know how
look.
big that is?
No.
It's 53 inches high. It's big.
Hope I win.
It's beautiful.
I know there's some people in the audience too that were at Printagansas. A lot of the artists, a few of the artists here, I know, you know, because we have a small crowd, but a few of the artists you hear from who participated in the printmaking workshop, which, like I said, was fun for most.
You know, I'd like to say one thing.
Go ahead.
That day, and I know you did the whole weekend. I can't imagine how exhausted you were by the end of it. But it ran like a Swiss clock because whoever the assistants were,
They were on it.
they were great, you know, and you didn't have to struggle, and they were right there to help you.
Yeah, they were very, very
It was
helpful.
well put together.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it ran like a Swiss clock rather than a Black Forest clock, which goes cuckoo.
And the fact that it was free for the artists is great because we already put all our blood, sweat, and tears into our art anyway. So that's payment in itself. So it was great that it was free for the artists, and it's a great way to raise money because you get more people involved too. You know, because I know it pretty much sold out, right? Because someone couldn't get in. I spoke with some. They couldn't get into one. They had to go into another one because it was full. There was only so many spots to be had on the
Yeah,
floor.
we only had room for so many people per session.
There was a little bit of pressure. You knew that there was another crew coming in behind you. You better get going, which kind of, I think, sometimes, you know, you need to have a little pressure on you to make something. Because if you sit around, you have too many decisions you can, but when you know that at 1 o'clock, look, you got to get out of here, you can move pretty fast, you know?
But you are right, Doug, about the assistants really made it happen.
They were
And,
on it. They were really, really good. They were very helpful.
Yeah, between William and Antoinette, Justin, I mean, yeah, Shar was there.
Did they make prints too that are in the auction?
Yeah,
Quincy,
also- yeah,
Quincy
they make it.
Eggington was there.
Quincy was there, yeah.
Yeah, Quincy,
Well, I
yeah,
can't-
yeah,
can't
'cause I've
remember
worked
all the
with her
names now.
before.
You know, it's a good model. I know you're doing it with Printaganda and you're doing it with printing, but I could see this happening with painting or with drawing or other, you know, areas. It could be kind of a fun thing to
Look
do.
at Josh's face over there. It's already, I could smell it burning. That's actually a very good idea. And it's great that this is LTV's first fundraiser, which really sort of shocks me that this is the first one, because most places out here do those to stay open, because, you know, it's such a seasonal place. You know, it's not easy to make it through a winter season being open all the time. That's why restaurants close in the winter, so because to keep it going. So I think it's great. It's a really, hopefully most of you will be coming here. So once again, it's Mannix 25 off for your discount on the tickets. Anything else you want to add before I get into my book, self-promotion? And I'm just going to ask each one of the panelists what they think about some of these little tips that I give in my book called If You're an Artist, 101 Tips. Anything else? Because I think we should put it all in at this point, whatever else needs to be said about it.
Well, I think.
Let's do it again
comprehensive,
next
yeah.
year.
Let's do it again.
I was going to say, hopefully, that was the thought in our discussions, was that let's try this as a pilot, and if it goes well, then maybe we can make this an annual event.
That would be great.
Yeah, I hope. We'll see.
I think that would be great. Anything else, Kerry, anybody want to add?
No, I think it's just a wonderful experience, and anybody that has an opportunity to take part in something like that, I think it's just, you know, well worthwhile.
Was there anybody that came in that was not an artist that wanted to just print that you know of?
Actually, that's a very good question, because I saw some very timid approaches to it, and one of them was by someone who had never done the process before. But he is an artist. He's a sculptor by the name of Hans van der Bovenkamp. And he's such a beautiful man, and he said, I've never done this. What do I do here? You know, and he approached this thing, and he had such a great time with it. I might have to bring a press over to his studio just so he can continue with it. He was so alive with it.
His sculptures are amazing. Does it look like his sculptures at all, like have that movement?
It's sort of figurative in that vein, yes.
Dan, what was it like to schlep
I know, it looked like you needed
these
cranes.
presses here, I can imagine you must get a little tired of that. It's-
There were two big presses, and they were heavy, you know. One of them, when it left here, it went up to Vermont, and the other one, where did it go? Went someplace else. But they're no longer here in the area.
But you're the one schlepping them.
Yes.
How much do they weigh?
Between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds. About the size of a small elephant.
Yeah, I had no idea they weighed that much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
heavy.
I know they were heavy, but I would never have guessed that.
They're heavy.
Because the one of them that was set over there was massive.
Yeah.
It was a really big one. Anything else?
Well,
That's it about the Printaganza, so everyone's got all the information on that show. All right, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, then I'm going to ask the panelists a few questions, then we'll take questions from the audience, and then we have a few gifts that we are going to be giving out to members in the audience, and they're going to pick the tickets. The panelists will pick the tickets, okay? So let's see, we're going to start with Kerry, because Kerry does a lot of art installation. I have helped install art at Guildhall with Kerry, and I'll never forget the time I'm hanging at Jackson Pollock, and Christina Strassfield came up to me, and as I'm putting it on the wall, she starts talking to me. And I'm just like, please, not now. No, now's not the time to talk to me. But this is interesting. This is one of my things in the book about work, that you don't have a license to be sloppy. And that's in the part of presentation of your art and installation of your art. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think the presentation has a lot to do with the way people perceive your work. And,
No
you
dirty
know,
mats, nothing like that, like if you're matting something.
Yep.
Clean glass,
Yep.
no nicked frames, and hung at eye level.
Yes, and straight.
And
Unless
straight.
it should be
I know I go
crooked.
into people's houses and move stuff around when I see, I do. If it's hung too low, it's like, it has to go higher. I have a friend who hangs everything at the same top level as the door jambs. It drives me
Oh,
nuts.
that's funny.
It totally drives me nuts. Let's see, Doug, for you, deadlines. Because you're in a lot of shows.
Right.
You have to meet your deadlines. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I'm now experiencing sleep disorder and anxiety.
Anxiety
but,
goes along
but
with
it
that.
does get the job done.
Yes, because you definitely need to have deadlines and meet them. There's nothing worse than something's due Friday at 5 and you call up Monday at 10 and say, oh, I forgot the deadline. Or I missed the deadline.
It's,
It's,
you know,
it's a business.
I've been working this whole year under a big deadline for a show that's coming up. And I'm so curious as to what will my life be like once the show is over. I mean, that's how immersed I've been in it.
Are you talking about the August 24th?
Yes.
Campo,
Campo Cudica is a
Cudica.
40-acre artist compound owned by this wonderful Argentinian family of artists. And they have an event hall. They've got beautiful studio buildings, which, I mean, going to the show, yes, you'll see my work, but you'll see so much more, because they've got sculpture all over the grounds, and they've got these studios you can just wander in and see what they're working on. And it's in Riverhead.
Riverhead.
Flanders, yeah.
Flanders. It used to be owned by the sculptor named, I think, Gloria Kitsch. Does that sound familiar? Or am I saying Kirch Kitsch? All right. But it's a treat, and as I said, I've been working on it. They wanted me to make big paintings. They're these very tall Argentinians, and for them, big paintings seem to be not a problem.
All their work is very large.
Very large, and so I've been busy doing that, and you know, it's been a lot of pressure because I keep worrying, will I have enough? Will I have enough?
and there's a deadline.
And there's a deadline.
And there's
yeah.
a deadline.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
you know
have
what?
a
I'm going to say
solo?
one last thing
Go
about
ahead.
that. The future Doug, is going to be the kind of artist that's going to have enough paintings stockpiled. So if a gallery director comes to me and says, "Can you do a show?" I say, "Sure, no problem here."
Make sure you get your
I'd like to
catalog
be-
resume together.
Yeah.
You need to know what you have. You need to know. Helen, aesthetics. Not everything has to be harmonious, beautiful, and peaceful. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Peaceful is not in my vocabulary.
There you go.
Well, you know, Clement Greenberg said all original art looks ugly at first. So you kind of have to, you know, I remember the first time I saw Pollock's work when I was a kid, you know, going to the museum in New York, and I look at it completely differently now. So you just have to go back and look again, especially if something doesn't appeal to you, then you should give it more time.
That's how I felt when the first time I saw Rothko. I just didn't, I was very young, my mother used to take us to museums, and I just didn't get it. And I was like, why is this black on black on black? And now I really, really appreciate it. So yeah.
You know, the art is the same, but you're different.
Exactly, how you see things. So things don't have to be pretty sunsets and rainbows and unicorns.
Although they're nice too.
They can be. Josh, supporting other artists. How do you feel about that? It's very important, or?
It's been my life's work.
I know, that's why I saved that one for you. Because you support a lot of artists in theater, art, music, especially here. You're doing a lot with comedians, dancers. You have a dance troupe from Georgia, the country, not the state. You had those, the Georgian dancers?
Yeah, it's a new series called the LTV's World Voices. So we're trying to bring artists that you might not otherwise get a chance to experience live in this area to the stage. So we had R. Carlos Nakai, the great Navajo flautist, arguably the finest practitioner of the indigenous flute in the world, and he was here, and he played as part of our World Voices series, and he did a lot of talking too, for anyone who may have been at that event, but when he played, it was spectacular. And the Georgian dance group is like the preeminent New York-based Georgian cultural group called Peswebi, and they had guys dancing on the stage with swords and leaping into the air, and I mean, it was remarkable vitality. And we've had a lot. We just had an encore last year.
Shabbat Khan,
Yes.
the sitar player, sensational.
Yeah, I missed that.
Helen and the Pollock Krasner, as one of her last gestures running the Pollock Krasner house, brought Ustad out last summer to LTV, and I think that was in conjunction with the exhibition you were doing.
Yeah, we did a show that was based on, was of work by artists who were in Jackson and Lee's address books. And two of them were Indian musicians and dancers. And we actually have a recording in the collection that they gave to Jackson and Lee and dedicated to them when they were here in New York. And then they went out to Black Mountain, and they stayed in touch. I mean, they were actually quite close. So we thought it would be nice, since they were in the address book, to have an Indian music concert in their honor and to sort of honor that friendship.
It was great, and happy to have him back a few weeks ago. And you know, that you talk about supporting other artists. So that's what, you know, Helen has, having run an institution and run an organization.
And art is not a competition. That's the beauty of it.
It's the, you know, like, look at these artists from different genres and disciplines sort of having synergy and cross-pollinating and having a dialogue. And
Well, also, you bring up the fact that it was our program, but we brought it here because we couldn't possibly have done it at our own venue. So this kind of collaboration is, I think, is one of the great strengths of the many organizations in this cultural framework in this area, because we have this kind of interactive, we can call anybody, one of our colleagues, and say, hey, like we're doing a program, music program over at Duck Creek. Because, you know, at the Pollock House, we just couldn't have as many people.
Yeah.
And this opens it up to the community, and also it's free, because everything at Duck Creek is
Yeah, I
free.
saw the Pollock Opera there.
We did the Pollock Opera there, and we had done lectures there. We've done the annual lecture at Guild Hall. You know, these things have been going on for many, many years.
Many years.
But having a great venue like this for music and dance is, I think it's just, you know, the community needs to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and with Josh and Michael Clark here, it's definitely, LTV has changed, because I remember I used to do stuff here when Frasier started this many, many, many years ago. Okay, Dan, you ready? Herding artist, is it harder than herding cats?
That's such a great question. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, it really depends on who's who and what they're doing. And, but getting them together, it's a toughie.
Yeah, and especially when there was a deadline to get the prints to you. How did that work out?
That worked out pretty good, actually.
did?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of stragglers, but
Yeah, I was on time.
we've
I
only
know
got
I was.
one outstanding one now that hasn't come through. Only one. And I won't say who.
Maybe they should buy my book and find out about deadlines.
That's a good idea.
All right, so everyone ready for the raffles? Then we'll take some questions, okay? So I'm going to pass the bag down. And the first thing, I need my glasses for this. Let's see, we're going to go in order in the way I have this written. We are giving one set, meaning 2 tickets to Printaganza, which is a value of $200, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so get your tickets ready. Go ahead, pull a ticket and read the last, 3 numbers I would take it.
There's no name on
I
it.
don't know.
Oh, no, just read the last 3 numbers.
3 numbers.
Get your tickets out.
Need glasses for that.
Watch all of us.
031.
Who's that?
I hear a happy chirp from the audience.
Okay, yay! So we'll get your name, we know your name, but after, just sign up so with... Yes, I do. So we'll take care of that at the end, okay? So just hold on to that. Next one, Helen, you're getting a set of tickets to the Mannix show, which can get you into the Gorilla Girls, if anyone. And then we have 2 more shows coming up in September and October as well. But the choice is yours of the 3. Who's going to grab those? Last few numbers, Helen.
That is 029.
Does anybody up here have it? Because you guys got tickets too.
I didn't get one.
You got
Really?
it? All right.
All right. So after that, we're going to grab your name and all your information as well. Okay. Then we have 3 sets of tickets that we are going to give out here to the Lasting Impressions film. Okay? So go ahead.
All right. This one is 023.
Hey, that's me.
Hey, Helen, you're coming to see the film. Right? We all grabbed tickets too because it was we all grabbed tickets.
I'm in the film.
Well, you could come and watch yourself. Okay, Kerry, you grab the next. This is also for Lasting Impressions, which is August 24th at 2:30.
This is funny. It's 800022.
2-2.
That would be me.
Oh my God,
But
look, the
my-
panel.
my-
Sorry, the
wait,
panel.
wait, wait.
Hey, you're coming to the film as well.
My show opens up on August 24th. I'm going to be busy at my opening.
Do you want to pass on your tickets
Yes,
to
let's
another
pass it
number?
on.
Let's pass
Why
it
don't
on
you
to
do
throw
another
his ticket back in because you can win something else.
This one was August 24th. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. This one's 800025.
Ah, good.
Okay, this is for Lasting Impressions. The film, it's the film on August 24th at 2:30. Okay, Josh.
August 4th.
August 4th, I'm sorry. Sorry, glasses. August 4th.
Maron.
Go ahead.
Okay, and this is lasting impressions also?
Yes, and then we're going to pass it back.
021. You? Congratulations.
This is
Well,
a
the whole
great
panel
show.
pretty much is going to the movies.
We're all going to the movie.
All going to the movies.
So funny.
Okay, let's pass the bag back.
Oh, pass it back?
Yes, we have 2 more to give out. Whoever wants, one is for, I'll pick it because it's this is to win one of the copies of my book, and then Dan, you'll pick the last one. 20. The last 2 numbers are 20. Jerry, you get a book, Jerry. Jerry helped me edit my book, so thank you, Jerry. One had 3 editors on my book, and boy, does that make it difficult. Okay, one more, and this is for a Dan Welden print. Now, the mat does have to be changed. It's just to hold it in place, and you can actually get yourself a Dan Welden
Dan's
print.
going to win this one.
Well, Dan, yeah, you can't win it, Dan.
I didn't get any of these.
You didn't get a raffle? Oh, it's okay.
All right, let's see who this is. Oh, come on. 022.
I just, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I never win anything. ever. So this is a real, thank you.
Well, that's a real treat, because you got a Dan Welden.
That is a real treat.
That is.
I love that.
Okay, any questions from the audience?
I always wanted a Dan Welden.
I don't have a Dan
That's
Welden.
funny, because I said to Doug, just watch all of us win.
I just did it because there's just,
That's embarrassing.
That's a real treat.
Okay, any questions from the audience?
That's great.
The lithograph stones, how much do they weigh?
Lithograph stones are,
Okay.
the weight of the lithograph stones varies according to how big it is, but it could go a couple 100 pounds.
Really?
That was a long time ago, right? Yeah. Yeah.
None of us are old.
I couldn't quite get.
It's a print that I did with you,
Yeah.
20-something years ago, is now going to be the source for a painting from that little print,
She's making a painting from a print that she worked on with you.
and then also a 2-layer ribbon.
That's a wonderful thing to do. I mean, it's fascinating how print can take us to other places. There's someone else that did that too. His name is Jasper Johns. He did a print first, and then he did a painting after the print. So it's really kind of a backwardsy way of doing things, but it's a beautiful way of doing something, Pam.
Any other questions? No?
Come on.
Any questions from on the panel? So I guess we're just going to wrap it up. So I'm just going to just give a little thing what everyone's doing. I want to thank everyone for being our panelists. Helen has her new book coming out in January, The Willful Corpse. It's the 5th of the series, of the corpse series that she's done. Doug, we talked about your Campo Cudica?
Yeah, on August 24th.
How do you pronounce it, Cudica?
Cudica, yeah, Campo Cudica.
Campo Cudica, which is in Riverhead, opens up on August 24th. Kerry has in September she has an exhibition at Dan's studio. Josh, he told us all about his LTV stuff, which is a lot going on. And Dan has his next show, well, you have many shows, Dan. How many solo shows have you had?
This will be 103.
103 solo shows,
Wow.
August 17th at the Alex Ferrone Gallery.
Nice.
103 solo shows.
I feel very lazy when
I
I hear
know.
that. Oh, my God.
Better jumpstart that career.
You went to school with Durer, right? Alfred Durer.
It's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And Dan has worked with many people, many people. Kiki Smith, I love Kiki Smith's work.
He's a wonderful person, too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's lovely to hear.
Yeah. We did yoga together.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll calm anyone down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a yoga person myself, as you can tell.
And what about you, our host? What's
Yeah, what are you
coming
up
up
to?
for Karyn Mannix?
What's coming up? Really, I mean, the show is here, and then I'm doing art on paper in September downtown in Manhattan, the art fair. September 4th through 8th, I think it is. And I will be doing that and have a lot of, some local artists, mostly not. I have a lot of artists, not a lot of artists, but Susan Zeiss is being one. Anne, who's here, is in the show. Carol Hunt is in there. So a few people who are local. So it's all works on paper, and I will be there in booth H02.
And what about the Guerrilla Girls
Oh, the Guerrilla Girls.
workshop?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's talk about the Guerrilla Girls. Yeah, I have 2 former Guerrilla Girls coming, and we are going to talk about why they're important in the art world, because how they started is in 1985. there was an exhibition at a museum which showed, I think, 3% of women and people of color. So that is how they start as activists, trying to get women and people of color equally shown in museums. They have the ones, and I'm taking this, Helen has a better memory than me. She might know the exact words, or someone on the panel might. How does a woman get seen in a museum or shown in a museum? She has to be naked on the wall. So basically, the only way a woman was shown in museums was if you were the painting of you, of a nude woman. Otherwise, women did not really make it into museums. It was 3%. And they've changed that a lot. And the day before that, as we said, we're going to do an activism workshop, but we're staying very clear of anything political, which is a very easy climate to use right now, but we're going to do things about the Mother Earth. And we're going to talk about how to be activists in a very peaceful way, how to do demonstrations. We're going to make some demonstration signs and some masks. The girls will be masked because they still do not want their identity to be shown. The reason these two Guerrilla Girls do leave the Guerrilla Girls is because they went to pursue their art careers in a different way. And it's been a long time since they started. And they were one of them is one of the founders, Alice Neal. They go by Dead Women Artists. And Alice Neal was one of the main founders, along with Frida Kahlo, or the two main founders of the Guerrilla Girls. So we have Alice Neal here and Romaine Brooks, who is a friend of mine. So they are going to be here, and the activism workshop's the day before. If you take the activism workshop, you get free entry into the Guerrilla Girls, and it's up to you if you want to do the demonstration that we will be doing outside of LTV. And it will be a peaceful demonstration just about Mother Nature, animal rights, clean water, clean air, all this stuff that's very important these days. And that's what's on my agenda.
Nice.
I don't sleep much. And that's it. So we're going to have a little meet and greet out in the hallway where you can talk to everyone individually. You can try to steal that print from Doug. Because we all want, because I don't even have a Dan Welden. So that's it. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Little
Thank
group
you,
that was
everybody.
actually perfect.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Karyn.
Karyn.
Thank you, Karyn.
Thank you.
Nicely done, Karyn.